Hello everybody and welcome back to the cabinet. Today I'm joined by the wonderful Penguin, and we will be discussing a lot of self-confidence issues and self-esteem. And thank you so much for joining me today though. How are you doing? You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Penguin. You'll hear Cookie call me Pengu.
Yeah.
It's just easier to say. I am a variety streamer on Twitch, and yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing okay. Work was kind of sucky, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, as it normally
it's work,
is.
So.
Yeah. Yeah,
what
but
do you
of course,
expect?
I had to have you on an episode for sure because we've had a lot of conversations before that we relate on quite a lot of things, and I definitely think it's kind of, I don't want to say it's unfortunate because it's nice that we relate, but also it's unfortunate that this is what we relate so much on. It really is unfortunate.
When you say it like that,
yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, like, it's nice. It's like, oh, I have someone to talk to about things because they get it, but also, like, I don't want you to get it. Like, I don't want you to feel like that. Yeah. But
that part. It's fine. It's fine. You know, we are the embodiment of that meme. It's fine.
It's all good. It's fine. It's totally not, like, causing crippling anxiety ever.
Never. Dude, anxiety can go suck a dick, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Absolutely.
I freaking hate it.
No, it is terrible, especially, like, waking up to it in the mornings and stuff. It's like, dude, I just opened my eyes. Like, do we have to? Do we really have to start?
Right? Listen, I've had those days of waking up in a pure, like, already full-blown panic attack. Like, I'm good.
It is horrendous.
I'm good.
That's been me the past, like, 3-4 weeks now. I wake up and I'm like, oh, cool, I can't breathe. Oh, great, I feel absolutely terrible and I'll probably puke later and pass out, but that's fine. Like, it's fine.
But the side note is, hey, at least I'll pass out. Like, that's something I wasn't able to do prior to this, so...
Yeah. It's like, cool, just drain me completely.
Right.
But, as much as we also have anxiety in common, today's episode is mostly going to be talking about a lot of, like, self-confidence issues and self-esteem, because that is definitely something I know you struggle with and I struggle with really bad, because it is, honestly, I still don't know. Obviously, I wouldn't be dealing with it still, but I don't know how to get over it. There are some things I could tell my brain, but at the same time, it's like, I personally don't know how to completely get rid of any self-confidence issues. It literally feels impossible when I just, like, wake up and deal with it. It's like, alright, cool. Like, this is just me. So.
Right? Like, awesome. Fantastic. Love it.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm sure there's more I could do, but it's kind of just like, it is what it is, you know?
At this point, though, like, that's exactly what it is it is what it is. There's the world is a shitty place. Okay, let's start there.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is the basis of it all, is the world is a shitty fucking place.
Absolutely.
And as much as I would love to sit here and sing Kumbaya every day of the fucking week, like, A, I'd get tired of that song immediately. And B, it's just like, you can't. Like, I don't give a fuck who you think you are or who, like, nobody in this world has everything all together.
Yeah.
The shitty part is it's so stigmatized to feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Or not feel a certain way that, like, you have no choice sometimes but to sit there and put on the fake freaking smile and, like, I'm sorry, nobody is always fine. Everybody is hiding something. I don't care who you are. Like, you don't have, society doesn't allow you to be your most authentic self.
Yeah, that is very true.
Because then you're looked at like you're the weirdo. You're looked at like you're the okay, I am the black sheep of my family, proudly. But that doesn't make the world any easier when you accept something and you're proud of it.
Yeah.
And when the world constantly shoots you down all the time and makes you literally hate those unique things about yourself, like, it's shitty. It's just like, bottom line.
Yeah.
It's just shitty.
There's always something that's gonna be like not off about you, but like to standards, to like the society standards. There's always gonna be something that's like somebody's gonna be like, oh, like no matter what you do.
Yeah, somebody's always gonna be like, oh, you do that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's
like,
literally impossible.
What the fuck is it to you, bitch? Let me live in my own little bubble.
Yeah,
I ain't bothering you. Stop bothering me. Like, why? What is your, like, for why? Literally.
Yeah, like,
explain.
I can totally get, though, where, like, you can, like, mess with your friends about certain things or whatever, but there are definitely people where they say stuff to you and you're like, oh, you just mean that to be an ass. I see. And, like,
right.
That, obviously, everyone can say, like, oh, that makes no sense, but a lot of people do it, obviously. But it really, I just, like, I don't understand why you would think in your head that what you're about to say to somebody won't affect them at all. And even if, like, they don't let it affect them, maybe it doesn't affect them, it's just like, why would you say it? There's no need for your opinion, especially when nobody asked for it. Like, if they're just standing there and you're just like, oh, your pants are kind of weird. It's like, shut up. Don't, like, there's no reason for you to speak right now. There's zero reason.
Right?
It is so, like, strange.
And I'm sorry, like, I am one of those people where I'll literally sit there and go, can I say something? If I feel like it's going to be super offensive or they're going to take it offensively, because let's face it, millennials are the generation of snowflakes and they can't handle their shit and be told the truth. Mm-hmm. Whereas Gen X doesn't really give a fuck and they're going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
And I was caught right in the middle of that. Like, so it's hard because I was always told growing up, you know, sticks and stones.
Yeah.
Y'all bitches lied. Words are horrible. Mm-hmm. If you hear it's and this is where the brain comes into like a really tricky play, because like if you hear something enough, you start to believe it. Now, whether you like are consciously believing it or not, that's not the point. You've heard it so many times, it's gotta be fucking true.
Yep, I feel that, absolutely.
Like, and then because you believe it so much, then you start to have some self-fulfilling prophecy and self-sabotaging yourself without even noticing it. Like, that's what I do a lot, is I self-sabotage. Oh, yeah. And it has everything to do with overthinking every little fucking thing that I do. Like, case in point, Wild today hit me up and said, hey, and he didn't even say hey. Like, I gave him shit for that. But, like, he's like, hit me up when you've got a moment. I want to talk to you about. I got a few things to talk to you about. And my brain literally went, like, ludicrous speed down every fucking single tangent. What could you possibly say? Like, what do we have to talk about?
Yeah.
And then I started, like, rethinking everything I've done in the past, like, 2 weeks. Because I'm like, did I piss you off? Like, I feel like I would know if I pissed you off. Like, I feel like that would be a thing. And, like, I even told him, I'm like, next time don't be so fucking cryptic. He's like, no, I even thought about it. And I made sure I said it in a way that wouldn't get you to, like, freak out or, like, I'm like, you don't understand how an overthinker works,
that's like,
do you?
That's the scariest message ever. Like, that is frightening.
I don't care how you said it. I don't care what phrasing you used. My immediate thought is, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, that would be mine too. Absolutely. I'm like, oh no. Like, hold on. Like, I would do the same thing, like going through everything that like maybe I have done, and then I would overthink the things that like I didn't even really do, but like, oh, maybe this was the bad thing. It's like, no.
And it just sucks. Like, it's where my insomnia comes from, is my brain doesn't know how to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, literally same. People tell me all the time, they're like, stop thinking while you're trying to sleep. I'm like, what do you mean stop thinking? Is this a thing that you can just do? Like, I can go, okay, brain, stop thinking and sleep? Like, how? It doesn't. Like, I can tell it all I want. It's not gonna stop. And I don't know how to fix that. Like, what do you want from me? See, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything. So I've tried a couple other things here and there, like a lot of like natural stuff. One thing that I thought helped was ashwagandha. My aunt gave it to me at some point, and maybe it was just the timing, I don't know, but it felt like it helped. So I was like, oh cool. And I spent so much money like a couple months ago or so on these like ashwagandha like gummy type things. And it had something else in it too. And I was like, all right, well, this helped last time. Maybe it'll help. Nope. Maybe I was just so messed up at the time. I don't know. But I wasn't that bad. Like, I was worse before. So it was kind of like, maybe I need to be worse. Because at that time she gave it to me, I was like really, really bad. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. And it's always hard to tell too when things are helping, because you might not notice it. Nobody else noticed the difference, 100%. Though.
And it's like, I don't believe a word y'all fucking say anyway. Like, I'll say thank you for the compliments. Doesn't mean I believe it.
Absolutely.
Because I've always been told otherwise. Exactly. And the world has told me otherwise.
That is, one thing I try to really tell people when I'm in a relationship with somebody, something that they don't get a lot of the times, is that when I feel a certain way about something, like them not finding me attractive, right? Maybe, like, I've had my first two boyfriends gave me reasons to believe that as it is, but the thing is going into a relationship, so like my last one, always was like so nice to me about everything. I've never heard somebody talk about me the way that he talked about me, and it was new. I'm used to quite the opposite. Both of my exes before would tell me that they can find other people more attractive. My first ex told me when people were more attractive. I've got things pointed out throughout my life just in general. So at some point, what I tried to explain to like the last one that I was with was basically like, look, it's not that I'm not believing you. Like, it's not you. It is the fact that I have believed things from, all over the place at this point. So it's hard for me to believe it in general. Like, yes, it looks like it's me saying, oh, I don't believe you. Of course it does. Because technically I am saying I don't believe you. But it has nothing to actually do with you. And I know it sounds so confusing. I'm sure you understand it.
Yeah, but it's a different case because I understand it, like, and it's because I've gone through it.
Exactly, yeah. So to somebody else who, like, even if they, I don't know, it's such a weird thing because I technically don't believe you. You know what I mean? And it's like, but that's not anything to do with you specifically. And it just sounds so strange. Yeah. And it probably sounds so confusing. But it doesn't have anything to do with you. I'm not reflecting anything on you. I'm not saying it's hard to believe you because you're you. No, it's hard to believe you because of what everybody else has done.
Me otherwise.
Exactly.
And that's like and that too is so like your trust and like, well, okay, trust in general, and like, I don't know, just the thought of trusting somebody is just terrifying.
Yep.
I don't give a fuck who you are.
Yep.
Because my trust has been thrown in my face, ass backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't trust a single thing you say. I don't. I don't believe words. Words are just that.
Exactly.
They're words. They mean absolutely nothing. 100% mean absolutely nothing. And But people don't get, and I love this analogy that parents do. Some parents do, is they'll take a plate that's breakable. When their child says, like, starts to like be a little shit and starts talking a bunch of shit as being just rude, and like they'll take a plate, they'll break it on the ground, and they'll look at the kid and go, now tell it sorry.
Yeah.
Did it fix the plate? No. Your words leave those impacts on people. And I don't know if I can stress it enough. Like, you don't know somebody's story. You don't know what they go through in their own personal life behind closed doors. You just sit there and go, oh, you're just doing the woe is me act. You just want attention. You're just being dramatic. You're being this. You're being that. And so you say it enough, and then people sit there and go, well, I'm not going to talk to anybody because I don't want to be dramatic.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be construed as me just being attention seeking. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to keep it all to myself. Hi, I'm talking about myself. Because after a certain point of hearing shit like that, you start to think, well, nobody's going to give a fuck anyway.
Exactly.
So why should I give you the best of me right off the rip when A, I know I'm not going to get the best of you. I'll be shocked if I even get an ounce of the best of you. I know you're not going to fucking care. I know you're not really listening. I know you're not, like, you know all of these things because it's what you've dealt with your essential whole life.
Yeah.
And then people take that guardedness and they go, oh, you're just insecure. You're not confident.
Yep.
Excuse me, bitch? I'm confident enough to know that I can kick your fucking ass. I'm confident enough to know that I can destroy you with my words, but I choose not to. Because there's already so much hate in this world and I don't want to add to it. So why do you have to be an ugly human being because I'm choosing to guard myself and you're seeing it for not what it is? That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Being an overthinker, you go home and you rethink a million ways how that confrontation could have gone down or that conversation could have happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you shit on yourself.
Yeah. Yep. That happens quite often. It's interesting too, because like what I've realized recently through like the stuff I've been going through recently is that I can have a conversation with 5-10 different people about this topic, right? I could tell them every detail if I wanted to. And the thing that like I was able to like learn through all of this is like I'm actually like understanding of a person. And it was a quality like I knew that I had, but like talking through like everybody's just like F this, nah, terrible person, nah, this, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, but here's the thing too, is people get to know each other way differently than like, so like me and I don't know, let's just say like Mackenzie, we're both friends with you, but I've gotten to like know you on a different level like this. Like she probably doesn't know these things about you, so she can think like, oh, this is how I see Pengu because this is what she sees. But like because I know you on a different level, I can see things a lot differently. Like I can understand things differently, maybe when you say stuff, when you do things. So that's something I realized recently too about like even just like the situation that I'm going through, which like you know about, and it's like I can understand, like right now I'm telling myself a bunch of different things, obviously, but it's also like I technically don't know what happened in somebody's head. Like it could have been anything. I keep saying like if it is some sort of like mental health thing where it's just like feeling like you're going maybe insane and you can't do anything about it, like that feeling of not being able to do anything about something for me would drive me nuts too. Like I would get it. Like of course I don't agree with everything but like I would get it. So that's something that like I keep trying to like say to people of like, yes, of course it's gonna look that way. Like, to not know this person how I knew this person, it's gonna look that way. Absolutely, that they're just like a bad person. But me knowing somebody on the way that I knew somebody and just thinking about every possibility, it's like I can't see it like that because of all these things that I've come to understand and all these things that I could put together. And I think at a certain point too, like I just, in my head, it's like I get it in a sense. I wouldn't do it, but like I get it in a way. So that's always something of like what you choose to show to people are going to make an assumption about you based on just like what they see. Like for me on stream, most of the time I'm gonna seem a lot more happy because you don't want to be down on stream. You don't want to make people like feel bad or anything on stream. So I'm gonna seem like a much happier person, which is why on Twitter I'll say like, hey, I'm not feeling great, I'm having a terrible week. I feel like, just so people know, it's like I do have issues with things too, and it's one of those things of like, not that I don't go into detail on Twitter, just touch the surface of things, but just so people know too that like it's fine. Like if you feel like that, if you're feeling that same way that I'm feeling, people are telling me it's fine. Like you yourself are telling me that it's fine. So if you have to do that same thing, if you feel that same thing, that is fine. And that's kind of why I'll make those posts on Twitter too. It's just so that people know that like it's not just like that all the time. Like how I am on stream, I can have fun, I can do all these things, but God, it's not like that at all. Not at all. It's just try to hype it up for streams, try to make people happy. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of why I like talk about stuff on Twitter sometimes, for sure.
Well, yeah, obviously, like it's okay to not be okay, and the world stigmatizes not being okay. Mm-hmm. You can't not feel anything but okay. Who are you to tell me how to live my fucking life? It is my life to live. I really could care less what you have to say or think, because your opinion doesn't matter to me. And yes, do I think about it later? Yeah, I do. But in the same breath, I don't care about the words you said. What I care about is the inference you're making.
Yeah.
Because that's now where I'm going to have an issue. Because if that's how, like, the world is seeing me and I don't agree with it, now we have a problem. Now I need to do some soul searching. Now I need to figure out what it is that I need to change.
Yeah, that's like me for a lot. I've had like comments from like, I mean, I've had a lot of issues with like friends and just relationships and family and all of that, but I definitely think that even though what started me feeling like this, like I noticed like a big change in how I felt about myself, because God, when I was younger, from like since I was born until I would say I was about 15, 16, I was chilling. I didn't care about, I mean, I actually cared about people, but I mean, I didn't care about what anybody had to say. Would it sting occasionally? Honestly, very little to my like 15-year-old brain. I really just didn't care as much. I had friends say a bunch of things to me. I had a lot of family life issues and stuff, that those were like more like a traumatic event more than a like letting it get to me, because I didn't cry when I was younger. I refused, even at funerals, like anything, I just wouldn't cry. I just didn't want to show that to people. And that's also a thing that has to do with like my dad was very much like that. Like even though now he's a little bit different, it was always like, you're strong, because I grew up being more like that type of behavior, like my dad, versus like my brother, which is more like my mom, where you show a bit more emotion, but you're not, I don't want to say as strong, because that's like not a way to put it, but we were a lot more like, we would stand up for people kind of thing. Like, that's the personality that we had. Stand up for people, say what you think, all of that. And my mom and my brother were very much like, I will sit back, say nothing, and just take it. I was like, I'm not taking it. That was just kind of how my behavior was. And I got that from him, unfortunately. I don't think it's a terrible quality, but it depends on how you look at it. But that's kind of how I was raised. I was also raised of standing up for my mom when, like, she was getting yelled at. Now, I didn't have to do that. Like, my brother didn't do it. But for me, how I guess I got that trait from him of, like, standing up, I couldn't listen to it. I couldn't do it. So that's how I grew up. So for years, until I was probably like 15, 16, that's kind of how my brain was wired. Somebody makes a comment to me, well, screw off. Well, you're a piece of garbage too, so get out of my face. Like, that's just how I was. So it didn't affect me that much because I kind of just deflected it a lot more. And I just didn't let it get to me because I was like, screw this person. Like, they're a piece of garbage, bye. And at a certain point, I think it's just what I remember the most of. As much as family life definitely crushed me for sure, I didn't let it affect me as much. But as I got older, and I guess I started I started maturing, I guess. I was maturing though for a while just because of the way that I had to grow up here. But when I got to a certain point with friends, I'm like seeing these friends as like, oh, they aren't good friends. Like, when I was younger, it's about having fun with your friends. You don't really think as much about, oh, do they care as much about me as I do about them? You're just having fun with your friends. But I got to a certain age where it's like, oh, I'm being the one that's left out of everything. But I'm doing everything for everybody and spending all my time and all my money on everybody while they leave me out of everything. Like, my relationship with my friends for 4 years in high school was, at some point, I said to my best friend in that group of like, hey, like, you guys are talking about, like, a plan that you guys made without me while I'm sitting there and I have to just listen to it, and I sit at lunch and I watch you guys talk about things I'm not involved in, and it kind of feels bad because it's like, you guys always come to my house, you guys always make me make you food, you guys make me do all of these things, but you can't invite me anywhere else. And it just felt bad. And she was like, oh, like, I didn't realize that, blah blah blah. And it never stopped, obviously. And then at some point, there was like some rumor in that friend group that came from a person that she didn't even like. And I was like her best friend. And instead of saying, hey, did you say this? I opened Snapchat to this angry paragraph of how terrible of a person I am and terrible of a friend I am and all these things. And that quality that I had in myself from when I was younger came out. It was just more of like instincts. Like, it affected me really, really bad after. But my instincts came out. And I was like, how about you ask me first instead of talking? Because it was like, I mean, I actually looked back at those messages a while ago. And I was like, I wonder if I was in the wrong. I wasn't. I looked back at that and I was like, wow, that's terrible. And she kept going on, and I just went, okay, here's the thing. You guys treat me like shit. I don't feel like dealing with it anymore, and this is how you're gonna act to somebody. You can basically go fuck off. And she was like, no, wait, hold on. I thought we were gonna talk, and I left. And that was the end of the conversation. And still to this day, that friend group and that conversation still affects me, but in the moment, that like instinct of like stand up for yourself came out. But since that was the first one that really, besides like my parents when I was younger, that was the first thing besides my family life that really affected me in that kind of way. From then on, and I had my first boyfriend at that time too, which was real bad. So having that, all of that happening at once, it just slowly, everything in me just started killing me and started getting to me, and I was getting tired of so much. And that's just like the fact that I like remember when all of that started. I don't know if you remember when like you started feeling yourself feeling that certain way, or if you have like something that just like changed your brain all of a sudden.
I have no flight instinct. So if you're gonna come at me, I'ma come at you. that's how that works. Which is a lot better now. In school and stuff, I used to have a real big anger problem, but I had all these defense mechanisms like in place from when I was a kid. And like I got teased a bunch through school and stuff like that. So by the time I got to high school, it was oh shit, there's Pengu. She's a fucking bitch. Get out of her way. So I kind of had to do I'm not gonna be a victim or victimized anymore kind of thing. Because like when you're in elementary school, you don't really understand the power roles at play when you're like between a bully and the one that they're bullying. So it's like there's a power play. It's what it is. It's all about dominance and asserting yourself. So once I started to realize the power play, well, I switched to the power play. I'm not some weak thing. If you're going to come at me, I'm going to come at you. And I'll only lay hands on you if you lay hands on me first. And so that right there, that mentality totally like killed my flight instinct. It's like I don't have one. I just kind of jump head first into things. Think about it later. Think about it way too much later. But like the turning point, I think, for me for that mentality switch was middle school, because I was done being the one that was bullied, so they would have to move on, but I would stand up for the new people that they were picking on. Like, I'm gonna take all your power away from you because that's what you did to me, or tried to. You failed. but like that's what you tried to do to me. I've been bullied by my parents growing up, bullied all through elementary school. I think the first half of middle school. I never turned into the bully, which I'm actually really proud of, because most people that get bullied will turn into the bully in order to fight their bully.
Yeah.
But I never turned into the bully. But I'd stop you real quick. The real turning point, because mentally speaking, I was ready to go at like 7. Like, that's how bad it was for me as a kid growing up. Like, I was ready to just not exist anymore by like 7. I grew up really young. I didn't really have a lot of a childhood, and the parts of my childhood that were like mandatory, like going to school and having all these awesome memories, suck. So I couldn't escape my house. I couldn't escape school. So I had my room. Like, that was my room. Like, that was my only safe spot.
Yeah.
And like, that shit does something to you mentally. Like, you grow up really quick when you have to figure that out. Like, okay, well, a multitude of things could happen. You either grow up real quick, realize how the world is. That's the option I took. You continue to let yourself be a victim, victimize yourself, and you go down that path. You become what you hate the most, and you become the bully and torment somebody else who's weaker than you, because all of a sudden now you belong. Or you just take it and feel your soul disintegrate in the process, feel your identity disintegrate in the process, because now all of a sudden your identity is this identity of what they're saying to you. For me, it was definitely having to grow up so quickly that I didn't experience things the same way others did. I threw myself into school, threw myself into music, sports. By the time I was in high school, I was spending 14 hours a day on campus because it was so much better than going home. I was very introvertedly extroverted in personality. Like, I stuck to myself, but get me around that certain group of people and I'm like, okay, it's like a whole new person.
Yeah, literally same.
So it's like, and then you can start seeing that confidence. Well, yeah, I'm allowing myself to be my authentic self around these people that I have found or have found me on this journey, and that they're accepting of that and they're understanding of that. It's amazing what understanding can do. Just basic understanding.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that so much too, because like that's one thing this past year, before how I have felt like recently, I have felt terrible. There's so many factors why I felt terrible, because it was like my last relationship was just it's weird. It was weird. My family life was just messed up completely, and it always has been, but it's been extra weird. But then what happened too was the way that my friends, since I was a kid, I mean a literal kid, one of them I've known since she was like 5. The other one I've known since they were probably like 6 or 7. Like, these people I've known forever. It's like, it felt so nice to have a friend group of like, wow, they stuck around through everything. I mean, through times where I was growing up and I realized certain things, like, oh, I shouldn't act this way, let me fix that. Oh, this is happening, let me fix that. So they were there through all of it, and maybe we weren't the bestest of friends all the time, but I was there for all of their things too. Like, did they piss me off sometimes? Absolutely. Does everybody have flaws? Absolutely. That's one thing I stress so much, and I was just talking about this the other day with my friend, is that yes, people have flaws. It's like, absolutely. There are things that maybe there's a personality trait that, like, it's like not my favorite. Does that mean you're a terrible person? No. That has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Like, for me, it's like certain things of like, right, if somebody's like super, super loud, like, I'm loud, so I get it. But if somebody's like overbearingly loud, does it kind of annoy me? That's the introvert in me that's like, but that doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It has nothing to do with it. It's just something that's like, am I gonna hate you for it? Absolutely not. That's just, you just have to find certain people that accept all of that about you. People who want to work through things with you. And that friend group I've had since I was a kid, I got really, really depressed back in like December, like last year. And I was always to myself. I never told anybody anything. Nobody knew I was depressed for years. Nobody knew nothing. And I finally said to them, like, because they were like, where are you? Where have you been? I'm like, guys, I'm not doing good. Like, I'm really, really not doing good. I can't get up. I can't stand up. I hate everybody. I hate everything. I literally, I can't look at myself half of the time. And it just felt like the care, that I had so much care for people, and everyone sucked it out of me, that I felt like I didn't care anymore, and it was eating me alive. And I told them that, and they basically went, okay, continue on. And then they continued with their conversations, and all of a sudden, all of this effort that I put in this friend group, I mean, I did these people everything for. Everything was at my house, and I hate being at my house, so it's like, that's already yeah, everything was at my house. They would come here, oh, what's for dinner? I'm like, what? And I gotta cook these people food or order them food, and then they would leave my house a mess, and I gotta clean up. And they do the same thing. If nothing was planned, then nobody would do it. They would let it pass over if I didn't say anything. So I did everything for this group for years and years and years. So the fact that when I got depressed, I finally told you guys, like, I can't do things anymore. And all of a sudden, the one person in that friend group who wasn't invited anymore was me, because I couldn't do certain things sometimes, but everyone's like, oh, well, I'm just not going to ask her then. I'm just not going to talk to her. I felt terrible, because I was like, wow, guys, I've gone through all of your phases, all of your flaws, everything. And I just can't do it anymore, and no one's going to talk to me. No one's going to invite me. And it felt so terrible. And then I remember in a group chat, they were like saying stuff about like, the reason they're not inviting me to things is because I don't invite them to anything anymore. I'm like, guys, I told you, I can't get up. I'm not doing anything anymore. There's nowhere to invite you. I can't stand up half the time. Like, I was almost like asking for a little bit of help from somebody, and nobody cared, and it was all put on me, and everyone was saying it to me. And the one person in that group chat, which you obviously know is Mackenzie, one person in that group chat who said, guys, what the fuck are you talking about? She was like, what? She did everything for you. And I just remember Mackenzie telling them, like, she did everything for all of you guys for, like, years. And she's just asking for a little something, and you guys are shitting on her, basically. And they all shut up as soon as Mackenzie, because I was literally everybody was bombarding me with it. And then Mackenzie just happened to click on it and read it. And she was not having it at all. And that was the first time in my life, literally the first time in my entire life, that I was like, oh, somebody cares. And that was just this year. The fact that was this year is insane. I was shocked that somebody cared enough to say something. Nobody ever has. I've never had somebody care to say something. And it was always crazy to me is like that nobody cared. Like the fact that I never asked for help, I never asked for anything, and the one time I finally say something and they basically tell me to screw off, it's like, wow, what did I do? Why? Because if any of them did it, yeah, if it was any of them, they would have like jumped for them. Like listening to like my one friend has like boy issues every 5 seconds because and it's like stupid boy issues. It's not like serious boy issues. It's some guy she's talking to or something. And they're like, oh, we drove this far to go to like her school and like talk to her. And I'm like, oh, but I'm on the verge of literally driving off of a cliff. And I tell you guys that, and you're like, you don't ask us to do anything, so fuck off. It's like, I just never understand.
So I had a friend group. There's a lot of drugs involved, a lot of partying involved. So maybe it's not starting out as like the best of friend group, but that's besides the point. And my girl, who coincidentally is the reason why I started playing Apex, my girl was dating my best friend at the time, and they broke up, and he started dating somebody new. And she was just not having it. And I'm like, what does it matter? Y'all ain't together anymore, so stop. And B, y'all ain't together anymore, so stop. But I went to a party, she wasn't there, and my best friend at the time, his new girlfriend was. And I sat there and I had a few beers. Okay, that's a lie. I played a few games of beer pong. And I grabbed a drink. I grabbed her one. I didn't care if she was going to drink it, because if not, I was going to drink it. That's all it was. And I looked at her, I'm like, you and me are going to have a conversation. And she just she looked scared, which, you know, added benefit, because, like, I'm the best friend. So, added benefit. But we went out, sat there, lit a cigarette. I lit a cigarette and a blunt. I gave her the beer. And I was like, so, you're dating my best friend. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, so, I know absolutely nothing about you. So let's get to know each other. Whatever's going on between person A and person B is between person A and person B, and me being person D has nothing to do with it. And so I got to know her, and my girl, his ex, literally the next day found out and was like, do you know the definition of loyalty? And I sat there and I was like, I know this bitch wasn't that stupid. So me being a smart ass, I copied and pasted the Webster definition of loyalty. And I sent it to her. And she's like, yeah, that's what you weren't doing when you were hanging out with homie's new girlfriend last night. And I sat there and I was like, first off, honey, you don't get to monopolize anything that I do. Secondly, you ain't God's gift to nothing to think that I'm gonna drop somebody whose only grievance against you is that she just so happens to be dating your ex. She's a person. So I'm gonna get to know the person. And like all this other shit, it blew up. It was so obnoxious. Like it got to a point where I just kind of sat there. I'm like, okay, so you're acting like you're 12.
Yeah.
I don't have time for 12-year-olds. Whenever it is that you want to be an adult and have a conversation, you can hit me up, we'll chat. But at this point, like, I'm done. And like, I was like you, I did everything. Oh, you needed money? I've only got $20, but here, it's yours. That girl had a panic. My parents used to live right around the corner from a Target. That girl had a panic attack in the parking lot of Target after leaving my house. And I ran to Target and drove her ass to the hospital, all while trying to calm her down. But you're gonna ask me what the definition of loyalty is.
Yeah.
That's adorable. So I kind of made it a rule then, like, I know everybody says it. Oh, I'm not here for the drama. Okay, well, 9 times out of 10, the people that say that are the people that bring the drama, just so you know. Just in case you were wondering, those are those people. But we had a very sudden loss in our friend group. That kind of brought us all together again. And for reals, I looked at her and I'm like, you and I definitely need to have a conversation. And she just kind of nodded. And I was like, this is how this is going to work. This is how this is going to go. I miss the memories. I miss the fun we have. What I don't miss is you making something out of absolutely nothing. So I'm cool with burying the hatchet. Water under the bridge, whatever you want to fucking say. But the minute you bring drama is the minute I look at you and go, I'm done. We were friends for a while. She got me into Apex right when I started streaming, so about 3 years ago. But she didn't let me play Apex. She didn't let me figure out the game, what she was doing. Sneaky little bitch. She was kind of grooming me to be the third for her and her brother and play the game how they wanted me to play the game. And that bugged me. And when I brought it up, she started a bunch of drama and I was like, no, I'm out, like, later. And I haven't talked to her in 3 years.
Damn.
So it's like, as you go through all this bullshit that fucks with your head, you slowly start to realize, oh, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're that kind of person. You're this, you're that. And you're not making judgments of those people because it's not like a first impression kind of thing. It's this usually happens after you get to know somebody. And you kind of see what their patterns are. You kind of see what their behaviors are in different situations. And then you can already sniff out the toxicity.
Oh, yeah.
Now, unfortunately, you have to suffer through a lot of toxicity to find out how to sniff out the toxic.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's something I wish I could change. Is why do we have to go through so much hell to realize we don't like it? I ain't gonna lie. I went through my whole life with being told that I'm overdramatic, that I am just seeking attention, that it's never as bad as it seems. That is something you should never tell somebody, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Or it could be worse. Again, not a phrase, not a good one.
Yep.
Mixed in with so much stuff that I was talking to a buddy and he asked me, he's like, what's your biggest fear? Because we were talking about horror games. And I told him, well, I don't really get scared of horror games. He's like, well, what are you afraid of? I'm like, everything subconsciously and nothing really physical. And he kind of sat there and he's like, say, like, zombies don't scare me. Spiders, I mean, I'm not a fan, but they don't scare me. Like, and he'd go through like all these like stereotypical like fears, right? But when I say I'm my biggest fears are the psychological fears. It's the fear of never being good enough.
No, I relate to that one big time.
It's the fear of dying alone, and not like, oh, I just like died on my own in a room by myself. No, like that's not what I mean when I say alone. I mean, I don't have anybody close to me that would care. That's what I mean when I say like I don't want to die alone. I'm cool with whatever goals I set and maybe not accomplishing them. I'm cool with death itself because it's the only guarantee you have in life is that you die. And if you're an American, you pay taxes. Those are the only two guarantees. Like when it comes to the mindset and how I view my own life and the actions that I've done, like it's hard. Like the biggest one is the not being good enough.
Yeah.
Because what sucks is when people tell you you're good enough and then every action that they do subsequently after that shows you otherwise.
Yep. That's a...
Which, again, fucks with your self-confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
It fucks with your view of yourself. Why are you telling me I'm good enough, but showing me I ain't?
Yeah. That's literally why I've been so, like, messed up recently. It's like, first of all, I already always struggled with never being enough because it was a big thing. Like with like friend groups, it's one of those things. You give your all and you get jack shit back, and it's like they make you feel bad. And I was like, how are you making me feel bad? I dealt with everything and I put up with everything and I did everything. How? And then for me, it's like with my family, it was always like everything I did, it's like, oh good, but like you could do more, or you should be doing this, or you shouldn't. Like, and you mentioned before of like how people shouldn't like say things. My mom's catchphrase is, that's life. That's life. It's like, I understand that that's life. I get that things that are hard, just because your life didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, doesn't mean your answer to everything is that's life. It is, like, it could still be hard. It could still suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not something you say every time. And everything in my family, too, it's always been, like, I do all these things and all this stuff, and, like, because my mom, basically, it's my mom and basically 3 kids, because my dad basically counts as one of them, and he does nothing around the house. And I for a while, she would leave all the time, and I would do all of these things, and she would come back, and it's like, oh, but you didn't do this. Oh, but you have to do more of this. Oh, and I'm like, what do you mean me? The one that's doing things while you decide I'm just gonna leave everybody. What? I don't understand how you could come back and say that to me, and that messed with me for so long. And like my grandma, who like lives across the street, I used to go there all the time, literally all the time. And then I got to a certain point where I was like doing things all of the time, and I got told, I mean, some terrible stuff my dad would say to me about it. And it was basically along the lines of like not doing enough. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was the only one for years. And then recently, like having, you know, all of that happen, it was like all of this other stuff happened. It was a different kind of heartbreak for me, where all of these people who could do all these things, say all these things, and tell me that I'm enough, even though they're doing these things to me and saying these things to me. I finally met a person where I actually for a second was letting a guard down. I was actually for a second believing them in a way that I didn't know I had in me. I didn't even know I had the level of trust to give away. I would tell this person too, I have 75% of trust to give you because I physically cannot get past that. Well, I got past that, and I didn't know it was physically possible. To have that taken away from me in a way that was pretty messed up,
childish and cowardice, and
it broke me in such a different way. For one, I'm already heartbroken because it was a relationship, so it's already a heartbreak. And 2, the way you did it was horrendous. And 3, you knew my past. You knew all these things. You knew these things about my exes, and they would leave me over and over again. And no matter what, it was my fault. No matter what. And Like, my first ex would leave just so he can go to another girl and then come back to me, and then leave just so it didn't come off as cheating. To know all of those things and to do it so much worse, and knowing that I feel so differently about this person, it's like, that messed me up so bad. It was like something else just on top of a heartbreak. It was, I had something that I, like, the way that I felt, and just in general, the fact that I was like, wow, wait, I can trust a person. You know how good that felt for someone who can't trust somebody? It was like, it felt so different. And the way I thought I was, like, I wasn't really a touchy kind of person or cutesy kind of person. And apparently I was. Because it was just, I had that love that I never, I guess, was able to give. I always loved and cared for people so much. But
it's
this
always
time,
different.
it was so different that it felt weird, but it would bring a smile to my face to think about the fact that I'm able to feel like this. So to get it taken was like different kind of heartbreak. It literally just kind of broke me because I thought I was there. Like, you know about, like, not having trust to give to people because you don't want to. So the fact that I was almost like, oh my god, I can put this in somebody's hands and it be safe. And then for it to be absolutely not safe, it literally killed me because, god, it felt so nice to start being like that. So that, like, that absolutely destroyed me. And, like, talk about self-confidence. I mean, I already had none of it. It's like, how can I get worse? But hey, I'm here. Like, I didn't know we could get this low, but I guess we're here now. So can't wait to try to get out of this one now.
Yeah, like, I'm the same way. Like, I don't trust people. I don't. It takes a lot to actually get me to trust you. When people say, well, tell me about yourself, nah. We don't got time. So then it's just surface conversation. Oh, I'm 5'8". I play video games. I love music. You know, it's the very impersonal shit. And, like, when you do eventually let somebody in or let the wall start to crumble, it's like all they do is they use and abuse it. And then you hear the words, oh, I would never do that to you.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and do exactly what they said they would never do to you. So it's like, how can I trust you or anybody when the world has blatantly showed me not to?
Absolutely. That's like somebody saying to me that, I wish you can trust me. I wish you can trust me. Well, guess what? I did. I actually finally did, and you did what everyone else did. So you just proved to me that, like, what I felt was correct. Like, you lasted, what, 3 weeks? 3 whole weeks. All of that for, like, 3 weeks for you. Like, it's just, it is something. And again, like, it could, I don't know. Obviously, you know, I don't know. It could be a mental thing, and it could be past stuff. It could be a bunch of things. But at the same time, like, talking about, like, just on, like, my side, it was just, I just can't understand. I could never understand how a person could feel so okay, and even if maybe they're not feeling okay, you still did it, you know? It's been, what, almost a month? Like, you still did it. You gotta know at some point something's gotta hit you. Maybe it's my overthinking brain that always thinks about all of the possibilities, and maybe it's me that thinks about how everybody's gonna feel, which is why I end up overthinking. I'll go home and I'm like, wait, did I just affect that person in this kind of way? Maybe that's just me. But to me, it's like, if I knew these things about somebody, if I knew all of this, I could never let them down in a way that was like, that was just, I don't know, that really proved everything that I said and every fear that I had was correct. But the fact that it was, like, more than correct. I mean, you did something that I didn't know a person would do to me, let alone you.
Right.
Because that's like a friend. If a friend did it to me, it would still hurt. But when you're dating someone, it's like, that's a whole different story. You're literally, when you date someone, maybe it's just me, I don't fucking know, but like, you're committed to that person. You have a commitment. Absolutely. And the fact that you can leave and there's no reason and there's no breakup and it's out of nowhere, it's like, how does nothing click in your head that maybe I should at least say something, just anything?
Yeah,
It's so strange to me how that's possible. But again, technically I don't really know. Either way, obviously, no matter what, it wasn't a good thing to do, but I still don't know, because the one thing I've been thinking too is I've had situations before where maybe I didn't make the best decision, and it ended up killing me, and it ended up affecting somebody so much worse in the situation because I couldn't decide on what to do. I didn't know. I had to think about everybody's feelings. The last person even though it seems like the first person I thought about was myself, absolutely not. I was the last person I thought about. The first person I thought about is like the person I was with, and then the person who was affecting that. And I tried to go through every reasoning, every way, every possibility. And it's like, if I do this, here's how they would feel. Here's what would happen. But then if I do this, and I went through everything. And ultimately, I went with a decision at a point, and it lasted like 5 months. And I said, nah,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, this isn't, because I thought about it, I wouldn't want somebody to do this. I wouldn't want somebody to withhold like any information from me. So then I ended up telling the person, but the first thing they did was get mad at me for holding it, which is fine. I took it. I took the hits. I took the words said to me. I took everything. So like, I can understand messing up. Absolutely. So because of that, what I've told myself to basically, like I was telling you before, that like this week is the week I started to try to get through things differently, because it was affecting me really, really bad. Really, really bad. So I basically told myself to get through this week was that I'm gonna wake up hurt. I'm gonna wake up sad. I'm gonna have moments where maybe I cry. Maybe I'm mad. It's gonna be hell no matter what I do, because I couldn't control it. But what I can do, because I am doing nothing with my life right now but being sad, is I can just tell myself whatever happens will happen. And that's all I can say to myself right now. I can give myself a reason all I want, but to at least calm the anxiety and the worry and all of that, I'm just telling myself that, like, if something is meant to happen, then it'll happen. And if it doesn't happen, clearly they're not meant to be here. And even though that's gonna hurt, it's like, at least I can tell myself that to like get through it. So that's kind of what I've had to like engrave into my brain recently, in order to like get through the week. And it's been tricky. Every time it hits a weekend, it gets really tricky for me, because I always have like that hope. But I at least was able to do things this week. Like, I was able to stream. I left the house once this week.
Right.
It was short, but I got out, so it's at least somewhat better than it's been. But sometimes you just kind of gotta like tell yourself those things to at least like help a little bit. And I know a lot of people have been saying to me, like, Mackenzie has been stressing this every day. Just make sure you're not beating yourself up. And I'm like, you know what's funny? Is I'm really not. Because what's very strange about this situation is I've almost been able to, like, realize certain things. For one, I'm actually maybe able to trust people at some point. And it was nice while it lasted. And it's going to take a long time again. But, like, at least I know I have that. I know that I still have that care in me that I felt like I lost this year.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I learned that, like, the way I talk when people have their opinions about it is, like, I totally am understanding of people. Which could be bad, could be good, depending on the situation. And that, like, I'm never gonna just talk horribly about somebody even though they've wronged me, because it's one of those things, like you mentioned before, that you never really like know what's going on in someone's life. So like, yes, what happened to me was terrible. It has made me feel terrible. Absolutely. Does that completely make him a terrible person? As much as everybody's saying it, I don't really think that. And
no, it doesn't make him a terrible person in that regard. Sadly, though, it has made me lose a lot of respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
In regards of being overtly understanding. So there is a very, very thin line between apathy and empathy.
Yeah.
That you straddle, and you have to find the balance of what do I need to care about and what do I not need to care about.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's hard. It's hard.
No, it
mainly
totally
because
is.
Everything around you yells at you to care about it, so you do, and then you're exhausted because you spend all your time caring about the little things that don't necessarily matter while caring about the huge things that are causing massive stresses in your body and in your head, and it gets overwhelming. And when someone is overtly stimulated, overwhelmed, exhausted, they revert and they crawl into their little space and they don't want to come out. Now you're down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And by the time you realize how far down that rabbit hole you are, you don't know how to get yourself back out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about, like, understanding for me. I've just been, like, after, like, all of this, I kind of, like, looked back on some things. It's, like, the first person I was with, right? He treated me, if I told you everything that he did, you would be like, what the fuck? It wouldn't make any sense to somebody of, like, why I stayed. And it was one of those things, it's like, it's my first relationship. I finally, like, felt something for somebody, so it was tricky because of how much I care. So once I'm in it, it's like, it's hard to get out. And I think back to it, and I'm not understanding of it. He is somebody that I have hatred for. I don't have hatred for a lot of people. Barely any, like 2 maximum. But he is one that I do, because as much as I can try to understand, it will never make sense. He is just not a good person. And that's, sometimes there are people that just aren't, and maybe they can change. But for me, I don't care enough to know. He is not, to me, not a good person.
Yeah.
And then there are some people, like my last ex. If I were to say everything to you that he did and said, it might not look so good for him. It might look like he's a pretty bad person. And as much as he hurt me in ways and said things to me in ways I could never understand, I feel like I was able to get that he's not a bad person. He just doesn't understand things. He grew up in a life where, like, nobody really cared to hear what he had to say. Nobody taught him anything. All it was being ignored and this and that. So it's kind of like he didn't get to experience how to have conversations with people, how to express how he feels, because if he did, he had, like, a bunch of stuff happen in his life. So it's like, I can understand it. Obviously, there's a limit to the understanding. Is I can understand just how he worked, but I wouldn't understand it to the point where I wanted to stay with him forever. Because it was, you kind of, at a certain point, like, there are things that just don't mesh, even if you understand the person. So that's something that I've definitely, like, looked at with things too, is I'm always really good at reading people. I know a lot of people say that, but I feel like I can read people really, really well. And
Yeah.
a lot of the times it's part of that understanding for sure, when you pick up on things of how people talk, how they interact, and all of these things. And it's not always completely accurate, but for the most part, I can tell when there's a person that I'm not going to get along with because their personalities don't mesh, or I can tell there's a person I'm not going to get along with because they don't have a great personality. And the ones that you click with, it is so different because you come to understand them so diffdifferently when you have that, like, click with people. And honestly, it's one of like the greatest feelings, is that click with people. Because it's not really often where you get that click with people. But when it happens, you're like, oh. The sad thing about that is sometimes that click can fade. as you like get to know people too. But I don't know, just what I've like just learned from everything for the past like couple months or so is that like understanding people comes in handy so much with how you choose to like react to things, how you choose to talk to people. It is such a big thing, and you can tell when people say they're understanding versus when they actually are understanding. Absolutely.
Right. Oh, 100%. Understanding is a huge thing, because first off, you need to understand that not everybody is going to understand 100%.
Yeah.
And so instead of saying I understand, you should say I understand to a certain extent. Because every situation is different. That's the beauty of reality and perception, is we could witness the same event, but your perception of what happened and my perception of what happened could be two completely different things. And like, if you can't take that step out and put yourself in a different viewpoint, in a different perspective, that's just asking for nothing but miscommunication, unnecessary drama and arguments, and a huge risk of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And like, you can't take back those types of things. The damage is already done. It's like that plate I was talking about earlier. Now you're in that forced to let things play out. You no longer have control over it. Whereas if you can be a little bit more understanding, at least you can control how you're responding and how you're interacting. And you can walk away feeling good, no matter the outcome.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I think when you don't have a lot of confidence, those little wins of walking away from something and feeling good about it, regardless, are huge.
Yeah, that's what's been huge about all of this. It's like, you know what? I care for people in a different way, for sure. And I'm like, you know what? I also understand people sometimes in a different way, for sure. And I did everything that I could. I was even putting myself in a situation where I was, honestly, it was uncomfortable. It's something that, like, you know, long distance, I've never done it. I would, if you asked me, like, before all of this, could you have done it? I would have said absolutely not. There is a 0% chance. But, like, I put myself in that because it was so different for me, and, like, in a good way. So much about it. So I think, like, all of that I kind of just, like, took from all of this, and it's kind of like, I at least can, like, I'm gonna hurt, obviously. It's still heartbreak. It's still a bunch of different things. I'm still going insane all the time. But I can still take away certain things, and it feels nice, because it's like you said, when you have no self-confidence, it is those small things of, like, I can walk away and say, I cared so much. I put myself in a position where it was uncomfortable, but I was willing to do so much for somebody. And that's just, like, how I am. So I can at least walk away with that of being like, I know that I'm that person. Like, I know that's how I am, and I know that's a quality that maybe a lot of people don't have, even that understanding. I was, like, talking to my friend about the situation, and he was like, whole time, like, nah, fuck that, nah, the whole time. And he said to me, when I would explain to him, he was like, I wish I had, like, that much understanding. He's like, because I don't understand it. I can't understand it. And I was like, but that's fine, because it's like, I don't understand. I'm not going to understand everything, obviously. I can understand how much I can possibly understand. But I have to, in certain situations, you really got to, like, look at certain things, and it's one thing to, like, if I just looked at the surface of it. The surface of it is what actually happened, and it looks terrible. But that's the surface isn't the answer of anything, and I don't care what anybody says. Everyone can tell me what they want, all they want, and you know what? Maybe I can look like a fool. I might. Who knows? But for now, maybe it's me believing in. But the thing is, I don't even believe in people. I don't trust nobody. So I was just gonna say maybe it's me believing in people. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't do that.
Right? Like, who does that these days?
Yeah. It's just understanding of people, and when you get to know a certain person on a certain level, you get to understand things that not everybody's gonna see. And to me, the majority of the time, it is not just like the surface picture. Absolutely not. Sometimes it is. Some people are just douchebags, like, realistically.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times it's not, for sure. No matter how it seems. Like, you can talk to your friends about somebody and they'll hate him, and it's like, wait, no, like, but here's these other things that, like, you don't know. So,
right.
I do.
You're hating somebody based off of a very one-sided account.
Yeah. That's one thing of, like, if people, like, my last ex didn't treat me good, but when people start, like, talking, like, bad and, like, hate him, like, no, don't hate him. Like, the first one, sure, go ahead, hate him, please. The second one, he was terrible in ways, but, like, I wouldn't want someone to hate him. I was talking to my mom the other day about, like, the relationships I've been in, and I said, the first person, if I were to see him, the feeling I would get would be anger. First thing I would feel. I would walk away from him. If he spoke to me, the problem is he might be a little hurt after that. The second one, it would just be awkward. Like, I would just feel weird. And the third one, it's like, I would probably cry. And I think that, like, the way that I feel about each of those really shows how I felt with each of them. Like, absolutely.
Right.
And I've definitely realized that, which is why everything's been so tricky. But
Life's meant to be tricky.
Can it just
It
not
sucks.
for like 4 seconds? Like, please.
No, absolutely not. How are you supposed to pass the test when you've been given the test without any of the time to practice or study for it? You know, like, ass backwards is what it is. Like, dead ass. It's ass backwards.
Yeah.
And I'm over it too. But I've also these days adopted the "it is what it is" mentality, which is dangerous.
Yeah. Sometimes
because
you have
I no
to.
longer care. I just no longer care.
Yeah. It's
my empathy is still there, but it's heavily apathetic.
Yeah. That's how I felt in, like, the beginning of this year until all of, like, this happened. I was in that feeling. I felt a little bit worse than just that, but I'm, like, kind of glad I don't feel like it, but at the same time, like I'm kind of glad that I have a little bit more care, but at the same time I'm like shit, now I can get hurt. Like, I can get hurt more again. So I don't know. I go between the two all the time.
Yeah, it's a ping pong game.
Basically.
Fine. I just want to be Forrest Gump and not have to think about the ping pong game.
Yeah.
Just kind of do it. You know what I mean? Like, autopilot would be fantastic.
Yeah, personally,
Better yet,
I just want, like, a break from the ping pong game once in a while. Be nice.
Better yet, give me a fucking easy button like Staples has been advertising for years. Please.
Yeah. I don't know. Things don't seem to be very easy.
Listen, I don't want to deal with this. Easy button. Bam. I don't have to deal with this. Like, that's all I want. But, you know, pipe dreams.
Yeah. So, on that note, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. And even though we could talk quite a bit about this topic and probably about a lot of things, we'll have to make it a two-parter for sure. But thank you for joining, Pengu. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for having me and wanting me to be here, because that was a fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
We haven't had a heart-to-heart like that in a while, so it was probably much overdue.
It's been quite some time. It's been quite some time since I've had a heart-to-heart, really, with, like, a lot of people, because my heart's a little, like, exploding at the moment. So it's like, what do I do?
That's fine. I collect pieces, put it back together. We're good.
There's a lot of pieces. They're getting lost somewhere.
I like scavenger hunts. It's fine.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a long scavenger hunt, but I appreciate
getting
you
rid of me
here.
anytime soon.
Good. I don't want to get rid of any people. I'm satisfied. The people I have, I'm good.
I really appreciate you inviting me onto the cabinet.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, guys, thank you to everybody who listened, and thank you again to Pengu, of course, for being here. And on that note, I will catch you guys next week with our second to last episode. We're going to be discussing some horror movies. I'm actually going to have my first IRL friend be joining us. Obviously, Mackenzie's an IRL friend, but she's also a streamer, so the only non-streamer that's going to be on this season. But we'll be talking about that next week. And on that note, I will see you guys then.